40 or something. But they're talking about added sugar. And so like when you look at the carbs, you can usually do like the net carb conversion. So it tells you the total carbs and then tells you the sugars, and it might still be natural sugar. And then and it'll tell you the fiber. So like if, like those Kill Cliff bars and those Quest bars, like it might have saccharides is the word I was trying to think of. Like when it says like oligosaccharides, anything with a saccharide at the end, it's still sugar. But like on some of those Quest bars and things, it'll tell you, it might have 30 grams of carbs, but 20 of it is fiber, and so you're really only getting 10 of like sugar carbs. So you have to do some of that math sometimes on the net carbs. We'll talk about that some more. I didn't specifically mention it, but that's a good point. So, anything else? Cool. Okay. All right. So So now we can actually talk about some of the diets, which three of them kind of all go together, and then we'll talk about the zone diet. So there's obviously plenty of diets out there, and I can talk about all those. Okay, I'm not worried about the South Beach diet and stuff like that. Your first main diet that I know you've heard about it is the paleo diet, right? Believe it or not, that's not the official CrossFit diet. Okay, but I hate the name paleo. It's a stupid name as far as I'm concerned. Ignore the whole mess about its caveman diet. Our gastrointestinal systems have not evolved as fast as the food industry and genetically modified organisms, and corn and wheat are not what they were 30 years ago. All that stuff might be true, but basically with the paleo diet, I think of it as a quality of food diet. Okay, paleo is not necessarily a diet in the sense that you're going to lose weight. Okay, in fact, you can easily gain weight eating paleo. Okay. And one of the reasons for that is a lot of the food that you're eating on the paleo diet is nutrient dense, and it does tend to focus a little more on your fatty foods, which are higher calorie foods. Okay, so it's very easy to gain weight from paleo. Okay, so like I said, ignore the whole evolution of food and the cavemen ate that. What it's doing is it's a quality of food, and it focuses on trying to eliminate inflammatory factors. Okay, it's as simple as that. So pretty much anything in the paleo diet, if you're wondering if it's paleo or not, things like gluten and wheat, anything that can be an intolerance to somebody, dairy, lactose intolerance, anything like that is pretty much off limits on the paleo diet. Okay, so it tries to eliminate inflammation. That is actually what the diet is all about. Okay. So, do you have to eat 100% paleo? Well, of course not, but one of the offshoots of paleo is the primal diet, okay? And basically the primal diet is still just a quality of food, but it's the paleo diet, and you're adding in dairy, okay? So, again, to me it's a stupid name, primal, right? It's I don't know, it's just silly. But Shannon and I, we did the whole paleo thing. We've done challenges in here, the Little Wrong Challenge, and the one that John Hanks did. Was that last year? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can have different levels of paleo, right? And you can see the difference between if you did John's and then you did the Little Wrong Challenge. I know y'all were here. Did y'all do John? Were y'all here? Okay. Like John's was way stricter. I mean, it was what I would call 100% paleo. There was zero wiggle room, and there was a ton of food. So it can be a very restrictive diet. Okay. Again, you're cutting out all beans and lentils, and you're cutting out things that people love: dairy, peanut butter, because peanuts are technically a legume, not a nut. And so just all kinds of things like that. And it focuses a lot on lean meats and vegetables. And so when people think paleo and they think primal, you get that typical, oh, you're eating bacon and steak every day, okay? which you're not. You're still eating a lot of carbs, but you're eating all those low glycemic carbs. It is very, very vegetable oriented. Asparagus and broccoli and cauliflowers and green beans every meal. Okay. And then primal is basically you're just adding back butter and milk and dairy. Okay. I don't think I've really mentioned too much before that. Focuses on eliminating the allergies. So one of the cool things about paleo though is if you don't really know where to start with something you're interested in, one of the things I think they did get right is that if you'll start at like 100% paleo, all right, you eliminate a bunch of stuff, all right. Then when you add something back, like dairy, you say, oh, I'm gonna try to eat primal, and you add back dairy, right? But you're probably gonna have some, not necessarily bloating, but gas, because you're adding something new back to your system. But if it's just like really overboard and it kills you, well then it's probably a good idea for you to try to limit or cut out your dairy, right? And then you can add back, gluten, all right? Everything's gluten-free now because the 1% people that have celiac disease, okay? So you can add back rice, or you can add back wheat, okay? Then you can see what it does to you, all right? If all of a sudden you feel like you're coming in every day, your shirt's gonna fit right because you're bloated, well then cut it back out, okay? So it is a good way of figuring out what you can and can't eat, okay? Shannon struggles with it a little bit more than I do. I found that the only thing that bothers me is like barbecue. Like I found when we eat barbecue, and like specifically pulled pork. Like if I eat pulled pork, I don't know if it's the fatty nature of it or it's the barbecue sauce or what, but I eat pulled pork, it just tears me up. But like Shannon, yeah, she's got a few more sensitivities and things. So it is a good way to kind of reset your system, and then you can kind of find out exactly what gets you. Okay. So yeah, and I have made a note just because it says it's paleo doesn't mean it's necessarily the healthiest thing, right? You see all these websites for paleo cookies, and I bring them in. I'm not saying that don't eat them, but we'll make a paleo cake, right? It's still a cake. So if you eat 10 slices of paleo cake, you're still eating cake, right? So if you eat a dozen paleo cookies, you're still eating cookies, all right? So just remember that. I don't think that's anything that anybody didn't know, but I did want to mention it. And paleo also gets more into your flours, okay? So you're not using like all-purpose flour, you're using like coconut flour, almond flour, and those do tend to be higher calorie. So a lot of the recipes you have to kind of exchange them at a certain rate. If you eat a lot of that stuff, you can sneakily eat a lot of calories. So if your goal is to try to lose weight, and you're going to go paleo, you still have to you don't necessarily have to count calories, but you do have to be mindful of how much you're eating because, just a simple example, a paleo cookie might actually have more calories than just a regular cookie, okay? So is that trade-off of not eating the bad foods like the flour, is that worth the fact that you're actually eating more calorie-wise than just being paleo, okay? So, alcohol, that's another one on paleo, no alcohol. And so I think that falls under primal. I'm pretty sure somebody along the way said, hey, I need my dairy and alcohol, we're just going to call it primal. And it kind of caught on because those are popular. There are websites, the paleo diet does focus on clean eating, which is a whole other diet, the clean eating diet, okay? And that's why I kind of lump them, they're sort of the same thing. And it focuses on your organic foods, your natural foods, okay? If you don't know, I'd be more than happy to show it to you. There are 2 lists that Shannon likes to look at. There's one called the Dirty Dozen, and there's one called the Clean 15, okay? And the Dirty Dozen is 12 foods that you should always buy organic. And I did not think to, here we go. I did not think to write them down on my list. Of course. There we go. So like your Dirty Dozen is apples, strawberries, grapes, celery, peaches, spinach, sweet bell peppers, imported nectarines, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, snap peas, and potatoes, okay? So some of that stuff you might realize you simply don't eat it, right? I don't eat a whole lot of nectarines and cherry tomatoes. Okay, but in general, we'll also see that those tend to have either no skin or no shell, or a very thin skin and shell, like apples. And so the whole thinking there with clean eating as well as with paleo is that you want clean food. You want something that doesn't have pesticides and all that kind of stuff. Okay. On the flip side of that, you have the clean 15, which is going to be the opposite of what you just heard. And that's going to be things that tend to have a thicker shell or a thicker skin, and you don't have to buy those organic. Okay. And these are more important to me than the other ones. So like avocados, pineapples, sweet corn, cabbage, peas, onions, asparagus, mangoes, papaya, kiwis, eggplants, grapefruits, cantaloupe, cauliflower, sweet potatoes. Okay, you do not, from this anyhow, you do not have to buy those organic. Okay, and so I'm just mindful of that because if I see sweet potatoes at 99 cents a pound for sweet potatoes, and then it's $3.99 a pound for organic, I'm not spending $3.99 on something that I don't have to. Okay, for organic. But things like apples and stuff that we eat, there's not a huge difference in price there, so that's something you always have to consider if you're paying for it. But like blueberries and apples and stuff like that, I mean, I know at Kroger it's usually like apples will be $2.99 a pound and organic ones will be $3.24 a pound, so it's like a quarter difference. It's not big, and then they'll be on sale, so you can kind of catch them then too. So that's your big thing with cleaning. Cleaning is not nearly as restrictive as your paleo diet. It doesn't cut out oatmeal and stuff like that. You just have to get the higher quality ingredients, basically. So like for oatmeal, for instance, you would get like steel cut oatmeal. You would not get the processed Quaker Oats oatmeal that has a bunch of sugar in it. Okay, so cleaning, you can get into it. It's more about like cleansing, and when you eat your salad dressings, you make them yourself, and you don't add all those ingredients for. I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook or on the website. And it's like if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. All right, that's your clean eating diet. Okay, so if it's got some like 30-letter word, you probably don't want to be eating it. Okay. So again, that's just a quality style diet. I think of it as that you're focusing on the quality of your food with all those. Okay. So what we'll spend some time on is the zone diet, and that's what me and Shannon did. So the zone diet is going to be your quality as well as your quantity. Okay. So everybody hates counting calories, and everybody hates keeping up with their food. A journal, and you do have to do that some if you really want to be strict about it. But the zone diet tries to make it as simple as possible for you to not have to count calories and not have to log everything in a journal all the time, every day, by kind of quantifying everything qualitatively as well as quantitatively. Okay, so again, it can be overwhelming and it can be confusing at first when you look at the list. It's just this huge list of food, and you're talking about blocks and this and that. But we'll do an example. We'll go over it. It's really not that bad. Okay. So the main concept of the zone diet is blocks. Okay. So in the past, most people focus on calories, right? I get 2,000 calories a day. If you have the MyFitness app, which me and Shannon did for that paleo challenge, and she still does it from time to time, it's all about your calories, right? So this one you're not counting calories. Technically, you're counting blocks, but your blocks are divvied up into how much calories things have in it. But it's just a little easier. Okay. So main thing to remember is you're eating the same number of blocks for your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. Okay. So it's all based on your protein. All right. So we'll do the calculation in a minute. But if you are a 15 block eater, you eat 15 blocks of proteins, you eat 15 blocks of carbs, you eat 15 blocks of fats every day. Okay? And you divvy it up however you want, but the general rule of thumb is you want to try to keep it equal. Like, so if you eat 3 blocks of carbs, or if you eat 3 blocks of proteins, you want to eat 3 blocks of carbs and 3 blocks of fat at the same time. You don't want to eat 5 blocks of proteins, no carbs, and 2 blocks of fat, and then later you're trying to balance it out by not eating any proteins and 4 blocks of carbs, and then it just gets messy. All right. So when you eat your meals, you eat your snacks, you want to try to keep it balanced. Okay. It's really not that hard. it comes pretty easily, all right? So the official way that you calculate how many blocks you eat is you take your body weight, and if you know your body fat percentage, you multiply that. So if you weigh 200 pounds and you are 25% body fat, all right, that would be 50. So you would subtract that from 200, you have 150 pounds of lean muscle, okay? You divide that by 7, and that gives you the number of blocks that you would eat in a day, all right? So that gets kind of cumbersome, right? I mean, do you know what your percentage of body fat is? I don't know what mine is, okay? So that little text I sent you, it has a nice chart that probably 80 to 90% of people fall into, okay? It is on pretty much the first page. There's like a picture of a fish on the first page. You scroll down, the next page it's got some brown and purple on there, and it's got it for women and it's got it for men, okay? And most of your people, if you're a female, you are normally going to be on a 3-block meal with either 1 or 2 blocks of snacks. So your total blocks are going to fall between 11 and 13 a day, okay? Shannon, she's 5'1". She'll probably hate me for saying that. She's closer to 5'2" maybe. I think she did 11 blocks, okay? The other day, Rachel and I were doing it. Rachel was obviously a little taller and a little bigger, not in a bad way, but so she's on like 14 blocks, okay? So you can kind of, there's plenty of wiggle room to be had, okay? You can start off, it's got the list on there, it says like small female, medium female, large female, athletic, well-muscled female, okay? And the same thing for the guys. You got small male, medium male, large male, extra large male. Your men are typically going to fall between 17 and 20 total blocks, okay? So if you're wanting to lose weight, for the 3 guys in here, you're going to want to be more on the 17 block side. If you're wanting to add muscle or add mass, you're going to be more on the 20 block side, okay? And it's not like you have to stick to it hardcore for 2 years if you commit to one or the other, all right? But you will see the difference. If you're eating 17 blocks a day for a couple of weeks, you're going to lose weight if you stick to it. And then if you get a little too lean, or you start noticing your 1-rep maxes are struggling or something like that, or you want to start bulking up, then you just change your block. You start eating more. Okay, you change your blocks to 20, and you're good to go. All right. All right. So let's go into this a little bit and see how. All right. So I did write down a couple of things I'll just put on the board so we don't have to look at the little website. All right. So again, let's just take a 15-block diet. All right. So that would be for let's just do a guy. Let's just do 17 blocks. So this would be for like a guy wanting to lose some weight. Okay. So I think they have it based on eating 5 times a day. There are 3 meals and 2 snacks. Shannon and I did 6. So we did breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack. Okay. You can kind of break it up however you want. All right. But we'll just stick with what they got. So they would have them do 4 blocks for breakfast, 4 blocks for lunch, 4 blocks for dinner. It's 12. Okay. And then we'll do 2 blocks snack, 2 blocks snack. So it's 6 and 16 blocks. All right, we'll do 16 blocks because I'm lazy. All right. So if you're going to do a 16-block meal for a guy, this is what you do. You do 4-block breakfast, and then your morning snack, then your lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, evening snack. Okay. You can break it up however you want, but that's a general way you would look at it. Okay. So you're eating 5 times a day. Depending on where you work or what your schedule is, you can change it if needed. Okay. So your food is based on your proteins. All right. So that's the main thing you're looking at is your proteins. All right. So as a general rule, if you're eating a meat that is not seafood, it is going to be 1 ounce is 1 block. Okay? So if you're eating chicken or steak or beef, okay, 1 ounce breakfast, if you're going to eat steak, right, you would eat a 4-ounce cut of steak. Okay. If you're eating seafood, it's 1.5 ounces. All right. So there is a little bit of math involved at first, and what you can see just in these 2 examples alone is that basically the more healthy the meat, all right, seafood in general tends to be a lot healthier than red meat. Okay, the whole Mediterranean diet versus red meat eaters. All right, so you get more seafood for the same block. All right, so instead of 4 ounces, you can eat 6 ounces of fish. Okay, if you don't like fish, sucks for you. Ground meat. I'm not gonna write this because I don't. Maybe a little confused, but if you're eating ground beef or ground steak, you can get those in the leaner cuts when we talk about the 80-20 or 90-10 burger. Okay, so if you're eating something really lean like 90-10 beef for burgers, you can do the 1.5 ounces. All right, so if you're eating a 4-block burger, instead of it being a 4-ounce burger, you can eat a 6-ounce burger. That tends to be what most, well, you can get half-pound burgers and stuff like that. So you can kind of see just in general already, it kind of helps with your portion control. All right, you go to Outback Steakhouse, and I mean, what's the smallest steak you can order? It's like a 10-ounce sirloin, right? So that's just eating 10 ounces all at once. It's a lot of food. Okay. Other proteins are going to be eggs. All right. 1 egg is 1 block. Okay. Egg whites, it's going to be 2 is 1 block. All right. So if you're going to eat eggs for breakfast, you can eat 4 eggs, right? Or you can eat 3 eggs and 2 egg whites. You can get a little more volume. And you also don't have to eat all of the same thing. Okay. So if you're going to eat steak eggs, all right, you can eat a couple ounces of steak, a couple eggs, right? You can mix and match your food. All right. Cheese is typically 1 ounce of cheese is 1 block. Okay. 1 ounce, 1 block. All right. So, anybody vegetarian? No, you're not. You're not vegetarian. All right. It's on that list that I sent you. Stuff like tofu and So let me say that the zone diet also, it is about the quality of your food. It is not it's not nearly as strict as paleo or clean eating. Okay, and so when I say that the zone diet does focus on the quality of your food, what you're going to find again, right? It has stuff on there like French fries and candy. Okay, but what you're going to find is that if you're eating 4 blocks and you're eating lean, healthy seafood and you get 6 ounces of that. Meat's probably not the best example, but when we look at the carbs, right? If you're eating Brussels sprouts, okay, you get like a buttload of Brussels sprouts. Whereas if you're eating French fries, you get like literally 4 French fries total. Okay, so if you're going to stick to the diet, you're going to quickly see that your quality foods, your healthy foods, you're going to get a lot more of them. Okay, versus it doesn't necessarily tell you to not eat cake, but if you eat cake, you're going to be eating a very small amount, or you're going to eat a lot of it and you're below your diet. Okay. So when you're starting off on your blocks, it's based on your protein intake. Okay, so that's the first thing that you calculate, right? And then all you do is match your carbs and your fats with whatever protein you decide to eat. Okay, so if you remember back what I erased a minute ago, one of the things you want to focus on with your proteins is lean proteins and varied proteins. Okay, so you're not eating eggs every day for breakfast, chicken every day for lunch, and steak every day for dinner. All right, you got to mix it up. But just as an example, let's stick with the breakfast and let's say we want to eat eggs. Okay, so we could eat, like an example would be 3 eggs and then 1 ounce of cheese on your eggs. Okay, so that would be your 4 blocks of proteins. Okay, bacon's on there as well. Basically, 2 slices of bacon counts as 1 block of protein. Okay, so you could eat 3 eggs and 2 slices of bacon. Okay, so Shannon and I, when we just tend to get the simple truth bacon from Kroger. Like, I didn't look at. I know there's a wide variety of bacon. You can get the thick sliced bacon, where 1 slice is 120 calories. You get the little super thin Oscar Mayer, where it's like 3 slices is 50 calories. We just kind of fall in the middle, okay? So you kind of take that edge a little bit. So let's say for breakfast, you're gonna eat 3 eggs and 2 bacon, 2 slices of bacon. All right, so now you got a bunch of carbs in there, okay? So for breakfast, we'll typically stick with fruit, okay? And if you look on your meal plan or on your list, they've kind of got it broken down into like your good carbs and your bad carbs. This is where you're going to see your high glycemic versus your low glycemic, okay? So, probably should have prepared, here we go. So like carbohydrates, so what you're going to eat for breakfast maybe, like grapes, grapefruit, honeydew, kiwi, lemon, lime, nectarine, oranges, okay? So let's just say you're eating oranges. So half an orange is a block, okay? So if you eat a whole orange, that would be 2 blocks, all right? So for your breakfast, you can eat an orange, and that's 2 blocks, and then you might eat, I don't know, a cup of grapes, okay? And that would be your other 2 blocks. All right, so now we're up to 3 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, an orange, and a cup of grapes. All right, we haven't even done the fats. Does that sound like a fairly decent breakfast so far? All right, so for your fats, again, your fats are going to be your nuts and your seeds, your oils, or things like that, okay? So just real quick, let's just say we're going to stick with a handful of almonds, okay? So when you get into your nuts and seeds, it can be kind of goofy, all right? They literally have it broken down into how many almonds you can eat for 1 block, okay? So like on this one, it says 3 almonds is 1 block. So you get 12 almonds, okay? For 4 blocks would be 12 almonds. It's basically like a whole handful, okay? So that's going to be, your fats and your seeds are going to be more, that's going to be your smaller portions. Okay?
Would that take away from your protein, because there is protein in there?
So they make mention of that, and so the way I look at it is, you have certain things that are going to overlap, so you have a little bit of ignoring it, all right? So you have to kind of learn. There's some of them you can count it either way, all right? There's some of them, particularly like Greek yogurt. It's a combo, and your cheeses can be combos. It counts as a fat and a protein, or a fat or a protein, right? And so if you're just going to count it as one or the other, it's kind of gaming the system. If you're going to count it as one or the other, you can actually eat more of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to count it as both, you would get less. Okay. But just for the purposes of this example, let's just say you're going to eat 12 almonds. Okay. You'll learn quickly. I mean, 12 almonds. You're thinking it's just 12, but it's a decent size amount. Okay. And when you look at it overall with what you're eating for breakfast, all right, 3 eggs, 2 bacon, 2 slices of bacon, a whole orange with a handful of almonds, and a cup of grapes. That's a pretty big breakfast, even for a guy, okay? And that's just one example. So like a girl, if they're on, say, a 12 or 13 block, you know, they might have a 3 block breakfast, okay? So like for you ladies, you would just eat 2 eggs and 2 slices of bacon, or you would just eat 3 eggs and no bacon, right? That would be your 3 blocks of protein. All right, and then you can eat your orange and half a cup of grapes instead, and you're just taking away the 1 extra block, okay? And you eat 9 almonds instead of 12. Right? So you'll quickly learn on your fats. Like sometimes you won't even technically think you're eating a fat, because like if we're cooking something like fish, for instance, if we're eating fish for dinner and we cook it in a lot of olive oil, or you're seasoning something or you're marinating in like butter or oil, like you might, sometimes we'll just count that as a fat. And so like your dinner, you might be steak and veggies, especially if you like fry the veggies in oil, or you cook the vegetables in oil, and then you're cooking your fish in oil, you're getting plenty of fat from those sources, okay? So let's skip lunch for a minute, and we'll do a smaller block like an afternoon snack, all right? So let's say you're going to eat some cheese, all right? One of the things that me and Shannon would eat that they have easily available at Kroger are like the little rectangle cheeses, the little dairy skinny cow cheeses, or the little string cheeses. And basically I just count one of those as a block, okay? So an afternoon snack might be a piece of string cheese, okay? And depending on what you had for breakfast, like full boiled eggs, like you can hard boil eggs and have them in the refrigerator, okay? Something like that. And then they even have a list of like 1 and 2 block snacks. And So like, I'll just read some of them to you instead of writing it down. Kind of see what we're talking about. So like a 2-block snack could be something as simple as 2 ounces of canned tuna, which is almost a whole can of tuna, okay? Mixed with some mayonnaise, served on a slice of bread, right? That would be a 2-block snack. Okay, so it's not even a meal, it's just like your afternoon snack, okay? A corn tortilla with half a cup of black beans, with an egg, an ounce of cheese, and half an avocado. That's a 2-block snack, okay? So yeah, avocados are kind of another go-to for fats. Sometimes we'll put it on our eggs, right? So instead of the almonds, right, we might eat half an avocado, just put it on our eggs with some salsa, right? Just whip up a whole big omelet, okay? A smoothie, a cup of milk, a tablespoon of protein powder, so a cup of frozen strawberries, and a small scoop of cashews. Blend it up. It's a 2-block meal, okay? So there's an entire list on here of stuff that you could eat. Those are your 2 blocks. So like I thought they had 1 block meals listed too, because that's the ones that kind of get people, like the small blocks. But anyhow, so like let's say like a 4-block dinner for a guy or a girl, whatever, right? That would be 6 ounces of fish, right? So 6 ounces of fish, because you're getting 1.5 ounces as a block, multiplied by 4. And you start learning the math pretty quick, right? And then you can saute 1.5 cups of zucchini and herbs of your choice, right? So that would be your vegetable. Let's make sure I don't too much like an idiot and spell it right. There we go. And then along with a large salad with 2 tablespoons of salad dressing of your choice, with 2 cups of fresh strawberries. That's like a bunch of strawberries. If you don't know how much 2 cups is, it's actually a pretty big number. 2 cups of strawberries, large salad with dressing. Alright, so yeah, that's a pretty good. People start thinking that this diet is fairly restrictive, and or not restrictive, but it's like you're eating very little. You're really not. Okay, when you start getting into some of the sizes of these meals, it's really not that bad. Again, you're rewarded for eating healthy, all right, and you're penalized for eating like crap, all right. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Your key thing to remember is just that you focus on how many blocks of protein you're eating for the day. All right, divvy it up however you want to divvy it up. Like I eat 6 times a day, so I did like 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, right? And Shannon did 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 or something. Okay, and then you just match your carbohydrates and your fats to what protein you're eating. Okay, so if you're eating a burger, right, you need a 6-ounce patty. All right, that's a 4-block burger. We just tend to skip on the bread. I'm not going to eat a bun and count that as my carbs because I don't want to, right? I'd rather eat just the burger, and I'll put avocado and pickles and mustard and season it and whatever else you want to put on there, okay? And then we'll eat vegetables with it, all right? So it's got a whole list on there. Zucchini and broccoli and carrots and sweet potatoes, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, salad, spinach, baby spinach. So you get a lot more of those foods to eat with something like a burger patty instead of just putting it on a bun, and that's pretty much all your carbs. Like you eat half a bun and it's like all your carbs. Okay, so and then again your fats might be either the butter that they cook something in, or putting avocado on your burger if you're into that, or something along those lines. Okay, so when you first start, I would strongly recommend trying to do a little bit of meal planning and a little bit of meal prep. Me and Shannon did a week at a time. So every Sunday night, we would pretty much lay out our entire menu for the week. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner with snacks. And then we would try to meal prep them as much as possible, right? So like a go-to snack that I could take to work would be like 2 boiled eggs, a package of baby carrots with they have these little guacamole cups that you can buy at like Kroger. They come in these little 100-calorie guacamole cups, okay? then that would be like a great snack. I could just pack it in my bag, pull it out at snack time when I'm at work, and eat, and not have to worry about really cooking anything. Okay. When we would cook, like if we cook steaks or something, again, you're not usually eating a 10-ounce steak ever. All right. So if you're going to stick to that, the days of that are kind of over, right? So, but most of the time you can find a steak, it'll be an 8 to 10 ounce cut, and you eat half of it and you save the other half, right? I kind of felt like a girl for the first couple of weeks. It's like, oh, I'm gonna eat half my steak and save the other half. But you quickly get to the point where you realize that you're getting plenty of food, plenty of nutrients to come in here and kill yourself and not be hungry, all right? I honestly don't remember ever going through the phase where I was just, dying of hunger thinking I was eating like a rabbit, okay? That's pretty much the zone diet. The whole thing with the zone diet is just, it can be overwhelming when you first start trying to figure out what to eat and what counts as what. And if you're gonna take the time to come to a seminar and you're gonna pay the money to join the gym and work out, it's worth 30 minutes of your time to sit and look at the chart and kind of quickly figure out what counts as what and how much of what. You'll quickly see where most things fall into categories like this, like your proteins. You don't have to say, well, what does duck count as? Okay, duck, chicken, it doesn't matter. It's all 1 ounce in one block. Okay, seafood and things like that, 1.5 ounces. Okay, so it's all. You'll see the same thing with your vegetables. If it's like a vegetable that most people don't like Brussels sprouts and asparagus, it's all going to be like, a third of a cup or half of a cup is one block. And so you can quickly figure out exactly how much to eat. It shows pictures on there, just a general